I'm leaving all my inheritance, the house and the car, to Christina. If you oppose, we're getting a divorce. I can manage just fine without you."
My husband Darren suddenly declared he would give away the inheritance I received from my grandfather to Christina, our eldest son's fiancé. The man who was once so kind had turned utterly selfish. But now I know this is his true nature. I decided to play my trump card and bring both my husband and Christina down a notch. First, it seemed like the two of them had a big misunderstanding. So I decided to correct that. Imagining the look of despair on their faces, I began to speak. My name is Shiri. I'm 35 and work part-time while managing the household. Darren comes from a wealthy family that owns a business and he works in his parents' company. We met in college where I was raised in a very average household. He was a gentleman when we met, and I liked his laid-back demeanor. He never looked down on me, so we got along well. He was a bit naive, having been raised as a cherished son, but I loved even that about him. When my grandfather suddenly fell ill and passed away during our college years, Darren was there for me. I was devastated, but Darren helped me get through it. My grandfather left me an inheritance including a house and a car. Though the house is old, it's comfortable, so we moved in. Darren now uses my grandfather's car for his daily commute. We married when I was 24 and soon after our eldest son Tim was born. I quit my job to focus on raising Tim and taking care of the house. Tim grew up to be a kind man and works for a private company, not Darren's family business. Once Tim was grown, I started working part-time and began to socialize outside the home. I wanted to see the world beyond our home. Darren often had work-related social events, but he told me not to bother attending, so I didn't have many external connections. His business was struggling, so I wanted to contribute to our financial stability. I made some good friends at work and life was going well until something shattered it. One day, Tim called me.
"I want to introduce you to someone I'm thinking of marrying."
Really? I felt sentimental thinking my son had found someone special. I wasn't upset, I was actually happy. I was looking forward to meeting her, but when she arrived, she was, let's say, a character. Her name is Christina, and her father is an executive at a large corporation. She met Tim through work, and although they work at different companies, they continued to see each other and started dating. That wasn't an issue. Her personality was, in a word, Christina was a drama queen. The moment we met, Christina greeted me with an exaggerated, "Hello, you must be Sherry, right? Nice to meet you," while batting her eyelashes. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of this type of behavior, but I thought she must have some redeeming qualities if my son chose her. However, Christina continued to be rude. She complained about the tea and snacks I offered, saying, these aren't tasty, not my style at all." She even mocked me for working part-time. "So you work, Sherry? Even though Darren makes good money, are you bad with finances or something?" When I explained that I wanted to socialize since I had been home raising Tim, she dismissed me, saying, "You're just a workaholic." Furthermore, her table manners were atrocious. It became apparent during dinner. Darren may be naive in some ways, but he was well taught in table manners. Christina, on the other hand, had a strange way of holding her fork and knife and talked with her mouth full. She had so many etiquette issues that I didn't want to share another meal with her. Tim finally said,
"Christina, you can't keep being rude like this."
She finally quieted down but was clearly in a bad mood. Later, Tim apologized to me.
"Oh, I'm sorry for how Christina acted. She's not usually like that. She's supposed to be more polite and considerate."
"There is no need for you to apologize, Tim, but I don't want her to be part of our family."
I get it. I'll talk to Christina."
Tim agreed with me. A few days later, Christina came to apologize, led by Tim. "My pet cat has been sick and I've been in a bad mood. I also don't get along with my strict mother, so I took it out on you, Sherry. I'm really sorry." She bowed her head several times, showing remorse. Darren and I decided to forgive her since she apologized properly. After that, Christina behaved well and was kind to me. My negative impression of her faded and I gave my blessings for their marriage. Eventually, Tim and Christina got married and started a happy life. But that was the beginning of a nightmare. A month after their marriage, Christina showed up at our house with one cat. "This is Mia, my pet. She's not listening to me anymore and I can't keep her. Can you take her?" "Oh, wait, you were so worried when she was sick and now you're giving her up?" I was puzzled, but Darren said,
"Well, why not? We can take care of her."
"Taking care of an animal isn't that simple." I objected, but Darren overruled me and took the cat on the spot.
When a family member is in need, you help them out. You take care of this cat. I'm not interested in cats.
Darren said this and retreated to his room. He and Christina seemed to get along well, maybe because they both come from wealthy backgrounds, but treating an animal's life so carelessly made me lose trust in him. I tried to find a new home for Mia the cat but had no luck. In the end, I took care of her myself. Mia turned out to be adorable and grew attached to me. It was a good thing, but Christina continued to make unreasonable demands like asking for money or help with chores. Darren indulged her every whim and dumped all the responsibilities on me. I grew increasingly frustrated and suspicious of their motives. I decided to consult him and do some digging on those two. One day, I came home from work to find Christina at our house again. Actually, I had something to discuss with both Christina and Darren, so the timing was perfect. But then Darren dropped a bombshell.
I want to give all my inheritance, the house and the car, to Christina.
What? I was stunned. You mean the inheritance, house, and car that I inherited from my grandfather?
Yes, I want to give Christina everything your granddad left you.
Darren said this as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Christina seemed eager to accept, saying, I would like to have it all by the end of this month if possible. She was back to her old self. I was furious at their audacity. Darren, seeing my displeasure, yelled,
Shut up! I'm giving everything to Christina. If you oppose, we are getting a divorce. I can manage just fine without you.
The man who was once so kind had turned utterly selfish, but now I know this is his true nature. I decided to play my trump card and bring both my husband and Christina down a notch. First, it seemed like the two of them had a big misunderstanding, so I decided to correct them. Imagining the look of despair on their faces, I began to speak. The inheritance, house, and car are all in my name, inherited from my grandfather. Darren, you can't just give them to Christina.
But I'm your husband. We're family, so I should be able to.
Inheritances usually go to blood relatives, so it can't be yours. Christina and Darren were dumbfounded. They had been clueless, charging ahead without knowing the basics. In the end, they were just naive, spoiled children. They had been raised in privileged environments and lacked common sense, but I had more to say. I decided to add another counterattack. Wait a moment. I went to my room and returned with several documents, showing them one in particular. The color drained from their faces. It was a report from a private investigator on Darren's infidelity. Arms crossed, I showed them a photo of the two of them looking quite cozy together. Darren started to stammer out an excuse.
Oh, when I'm with Christina, I feel glamorous and at ease. Being with you feels like we're struggling. And it stresses me out. I mean, you are a responsible woman, and I thought you would handle all the difficult stuffs. Plus, you inherited things from your grandfather, so I married you. But I have reached my limit.
His words turned into outright insults against me. It was clear Darren had been using me all along and felt no remorse. Instead of apologizing, you're making me uncomfortable? I will gladly divorce you and demand alimony. I pulled out divorce papers, already filled out on my end. You seem to want a luxurious life, so you would probably prefer to be without a commoner like me? You even said you wanted a divorce just now, but you're not getting anything from my grandfather. Darren looked at Christina, who was throwing a tantrum. Why is this so different from what we discussed? Now we get nothing and have to pay alimony? They both seemed panicked. They're wealthy. They should be able to afford alimony and buy their own houses and cars. Why the rush? I knew why. The investigation revealed more than just infidelity. I pulled out another document. Christina, you have debts, don't you? The investigation showed you frequenting consumer loan companies. You were planning to sell my house and car to pay off your debts, weren't you? Both Christina and Darren were speechless. Also, you two are just figureheads at your companies, right? You got your jobs through family connections and collect high salaries without actually working. Your colleagues are unhappy about it. Darren probably didn't want me to meet his coworkers to keep his poor reputation a secret. He pretended to care for me while hiding inconvenient truths. I had said all I needed to say. The more I investigated, the more their failures came to light. It was beyond infuriating. By the way, Tim knows all about it. He also thought something was off with you two, so he and I requested the investigation. The two grew even more frantic, but others knew about their deeds as well. Since it's a big deal, I thought I would teach that too. I thought I would share that when the front door opened and 3 people walked into the living room. One was Tim, and the other 2 were Darren's father, Kyle, and Christina's mother, Matilda. Both looked furious. We heard everything from Tim.
You two have been having affairs, accumulating debt, and acting recklessly behind our backs.
As Kyle confronted them, Darren and Christina looked at Tim as if to say, "Why did you tell them?"
Tim spoke sternly. I had a talk with Mom about this. We decided to inform both families about your and Dad's wrongdoing and take some sort of action. I can't forgive Christina's affairs and debts either.
Tim was unusually angry. Christina hesitantly asked Tim, "Honey, when you say both families, does that mean people other than your mom know too?" Tim nodded.
Yes, in your case, your dad, your grandfather, and your grandmother know. Soon enough, the whole family will know, won't they?
Christina covered her face with her hands, looking like she was about to cry. "If everyone finds out about this, I can't go on living." Matilda glared at Christina. "Christina, you have really done it now." I heard that Christina's mom Matilda is strict about manners and would never tolerate infidelity. "Ever since you were little, you have been selfish. I was worried you wouldn't grow up to be a decent adult. I was strict with you because I loved you, even though you kept rebelling against me." Christina looked startled. It seemed like she finally realized her parents' love, but unfortunately, it was too late. Confronted by their parents, Darren and Christina began to spill the details of their affair. According to them, they had been having an affair since Christina was in college. They met and hit it off at a work-related party that Darren attended. Darren, who had grown tired of my down-to-earth values, was attracted to a young and wealthy Christina, and they quickly entered into an affair. Since then, Christina had been squandering Darren's money and even racked up debts. Darren was no better, handing over large sums of money like that. I didn't notice because the money Darren used was from his personal savings, not our joint account. Both had never struggled financially, so they seemed to think money would just keep coming in. They continued to accumulate debt until they were cornered and set their sights on my inheritance. They thought they could manipulate me by threatening divorce. Christina even married Tim for his money. Tim works for a big corporation and seems financially stable, so Christina approached him. Not only that, she thought it would make it easier to continue her affair. What's even more unforgivable is that Darren was the one who suggested the marriage. Darren had the audacity to use his own son to facilitate his affair. But it seems Christina didn't like me at first sight and acted rudely. She almost jeopardized the marriage, so she pretended to repent to secure it. After hearing everything, Kyle was furious beyond words.
"Oh, Darren is so selfish. I'm firing him."
Hearing this, Darren was shocked.
You're kidding, right? I gave money to Christina, so I don't have any savings left. You got me this job through your connections, and you've been paying me well. Look, I've been lenient because you're my son, but this is the last straw. Being soft on you isn't helping you. Plus, you know our company is struggling, right? We can't afford you anymore. The staff is fed up. You're fired. You're in your 40s. Figure it out yourself.
Matilda said the same thing to Christina. "You've been messing with Tim and causing a lot of trouble for Sherry. Keeping you in the company will only bring harm. My husband and I have decided to fire you. Plus, there are allegations that you have been embezzling company funds. Multiple employees have tested that you have extorted money from them." "Oh, what? How did you find out?" In her panic, Christina confessed. She was trembling. "You are going to the police. Just because we are family doesn't mean I'll go easy on you." Faced with her crimes, Christina slumped, defeated. Then I served Darren with divorce papers again. Tim also pulled out divorce papers and showed them to Christina. I can never consider Darren as family again. Let's get this divorce over with.
I feel the same, Christina. I can't love a woman who cheats with her own father and commits crimes.
Darren and Christina hesitated, but when Matilda sternly said, "You have caused enough trouble. Sign the divorce papers," they complied. Tim and I submitted the papers to the courthouse that day and cut ties with them. As a result of a family meeting, Darren and Christina were disowned. Christina was lectured by Matilda for over 2 hours and then handed over to the police. Darren was kicked out of the house and now has to fend for himself. In the end, Darren and Christina, who once loved each other deeply, broke up. They blamed each other for their wrongdoings, which seemed to be the cause of their fights. Their parents apologized to Tim and me. They bowed their heads repeatedly, saying they had caused us great trouble by raising their children poorly. "We forgive you. The blame lies solely with Darren and Christina," we said. Tim also said,
I don't blame you all since you have properly disciplined them.
No matter how spoiled they were, Darren and Christina were the ones who actually caused the problems. They committed crimes of their own accord, not because their parents told them to, so we didn't blame the parents. Christina, due to her embezzlement and extortion, now had a criminal record and is headed for prison. Born into a privileged life, they ended up on a downward spiral. Matilda said their family would cover the compensation owed to Tim and me for now, but they would have to pay it back once they're out of jail. Darren managed to find another job, but at a much lower salary. I heard he's living in a rundown apartment, struggling to make the compensation payments and living a poor life. I think it's all their own doing, and I hope they continue to suffer. As for me, I have managed to keep my home and am living a peaceful life with Tim and Mia. With my part-time income and Tim's salary, we're not struggling financially. We spend our weekends having fun with Mia. Despite being caught up in a terrible incident, we have managed to resolve it and return to a happy, normal life. I hope this continues for a long time to come.